Okay. So
You can
my
get.
topic today is going to be a little platform agnostic, but it is front end basically. So you might have heard of the terms cross-site scripting and content security policy. If not, I'm going to give a primer on both of them and uh, how can you prevent cross-site scripting with content security policy. So let's first get started with this. So um, cross-site scripting, the abbreviation is XSS because X generally means cross, so that's why it is. And CSP is content security policy. So what is cross-site scripting? I'll give you an example of the simplest website I could think of. So it's just running on my local host, and it has a simple thing to do. I gave it any name in the parameter, and it's going to show the name. So currently it's showing hi Kartik. So now I'll try to enter something else. I'll say hi Betty. So it works perfectly, and it looks pretty harmless as well. But how harmless is it? Instead of Betty, if I try to enter, if I try to send it an image tag with src as something, and I will also pass that on error what you should do. And I know that src as f is not going to work, so on error it's going to show alert one. What actually makes this a harmful website is that this introduces cross-site scripting. Any hacker or spammer can take this query, uh, and on error they are going to execute something like document dot get cookie and send it to their server, load their scripts on your site, on this site. Let's say, yeah, it could even be Amazon or something. So had Amazon not made it uh, XSS free, so they would also be able to send the same thing to them, to Amazon, and you might get a link in your email saying something like, hey, click here to make your purchase. And here is hyperlink to that notorious cross-site scripting URL, and that's where they'll get you. You're going to open the genuine website, but since they did not make it cross-site scripting free, they are going to get your cookies and send it to their own server or anything. So the XSS vulnerability is going to be troublesome, and hackers can exploit it. So a lot of JS libraries which we currently use in our sites like Lodash, or even we have a lot of passing libraries. We have a lot of libraries saying that, okay, we can run a carousel for also for the search bar and everything. You can have any library from the NPM as well. So mostly what they try to do is introduce HTML sanitization, so that so people are not able to directly introduce script tags or image tags to your website through this cross-site scripting, and thus that is the protection you get from those libraries. So visually, I'd like to represent that as a guard here. So the guard you see here, guard or a warrior. So let's assume that your website called my site, in a parallel world, it is a castle, and it looks like this, somewhat like this. So this is your site, and let's say somebody's this is a site slash castle. Somebody's trying to throw some rocks at it, but your guard just comes up and says that, okay, I'm going to stop all the stones or cannons, whatever anybody is throwing, and I'm going to protect the castle. So that means you have a pretty damn good guard here, who's going to protect your castle, and you're going to be safe. But what if this happens? The first attack kills the guard, and the further attacks kill your castle as well. So that means you cannot always trust on your guard. Whatever library you are introducing, you cannot always trust it. So that means your guard was not strong enough. And this is a reality because you might have, so even the most modern libraries, even React, which we use so commonly, they have they will also have methods that injecting unsafe HTML to your site, because that is something they want to give it to the developers, and it is up to the developers to make sure that their site is cross-site scripting free, but not necessarily the what do you say, the power is in the library's hand, right? It's not their responsibility. It's at the end of the day, it's going to be my site, so I need to make sure that cross-site scripting is not happening. So here enters content security policy. And now what's going to happen? Let's say your guard is down, but any further throws at your castle, there's a certain kind of a shield, and this shield is content security policy, the policy which is going to protect your website, and it's going to be an out of the box thing. And yeah, so basically it prevents any of certain notorious injected scripts to execute on your site. And it's not just that. So you might have also heard of clickjack prevention. I used to work in a company where some people from Saudi Arabia, let's say you have a website known as safe.com, and you have a screen where you enter the card details, and you commonly do that as well, right? So somebody gets to know that, okay, it's a fairly new website. Why not? I make an unsafe.com and load your website in an iframe and show that enter credit card details on their page. So you might be thinking that, okay, it's safe. They are just going to enter the card details and it's going to come to safe.com, right? But actually, since it's in within an iframe, they can easily access safe.com iframe, and whatever card details you enter, it's going to reach them on safe.com, and you are now vulnerable. So there can be mitigations through JavaScript, like how we used to do early in the early days, where we try to see that, okay, if it is an if our website is in an iframe, so we check the parent whether the parent is also our site. We are okay. Otherwise, we just stop displaying our website. That's okay to do as well, but how much can you trust it, right? So now content security policy, you can also mention that what websites can load your site within an iframe. If you trust it, you can mention that, okay, uh, content security policy as frame src and the source site. I'll tell you later how exactly to introduce this. Where exactly will this policy come into picture? Where do you mention it? Or you can also mention that none of the websites should be able to load your site in their frame. You can just mention that none, that nothing should be able to load my site in an iframe. And other things, you combine content security policy with other secure cookies settings as well in the headers again. So there you can also prevent packet sniffing. That if two people are talking over a network, content security policy can mention that, okay, whatever assets or content is loaded on this page, it should only be from these certain protocols. For example, let's say HTTPS or WSS, and it can block other HTTP, which is insecure. Sorry, which is not secure. Things like that you can mention. So it can also mitigate packet sniffing. So we'll get started with the implementation. You can add this content security policy through the server-side headers, and it can be sent with the HTML, or if you are able to control the server side, you can also send it with the JS or the image files or whatever assets you have, which you are serving from your CDN, from your global edge, from your what do you say, middleware, anywhere. So you can send the headers with them, or as a last resort, or not just as a last resort, but also if you have a very static website, like let's say it's a place to show your resume or something, but you have certain input boxes where you think that cross-site scripting could happen and people can lose their data. So there you can also add the content security policy in the meta tags of your HTML page itself. Like it could be that's as simple as that as well. But the trusted way to go is through the server side headers, because usually we work on bigger sites, and there'll be certain forms, there'll be certain places where cross-site scripting could happen. So that was about the way we can introduce it. And the second thing we are going to talk about is the modes of CSP. So first is the report mode. Report mode is this is the syntax that in the headers, in the website headers, you can see that you can introduce this line that, okay, content security policy report only, and you can start with your policy, whatever you have. Okay, so you can also provide some place to report whatever violations happen on your site. And uh, of course, after you have introduced the policy, you can see where it is getting reported if you mention the report URI. And a browser at the back, it's going to send post requests to that URL which you have mentioned, and you're going to get the errors reported to that URL. Yeah, and you can do reporting mode through server-side headers, but there's a problem that HTML meta tags cannot have the report mode URL. It cannot even have the report mode. So, which is
Karthik,
why servers,
one
yeah.
can there is a StreamYard overlay, right? Can you click on the hide because that is blocking your
Okay,
like
okay, okay,
hide? Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
okay. But if I hide this, it just said, okay, now it's good. No, thanks a lot. I don't know how much would have been missed by now. Uh, but anyway, I'm assuming things didn't go that bad. So now HTML meta tags are will not be able to introduce the report URI or the report mode at all. So which is why I consider it as a last resort thing. So this is the best analogy I could come up with. Let's say you are on a road and you're driving a car, and there is a certain speed detector on, and we do even have it in some other countries where your speed is going to be checked at certain places, and if by that if by the rules of that government or the road rules you are crossing the speed limit, it's going to just monitor that, okay, you have crossed 79 km/h speed, and it's just simply going to report it to the analytics. And this is the purpose, this is how exactly report mode works. So to set it in kind of a flow chart, first you should set a very minimal policy for the report mode, and then you apply the policy on your website. And once you launch it, uh, you can see actual violations happening, which you can monitor through the report URI, which you had mentioned. And once you report the violations, you can take a call that what to do with the violation, whether it is genuine, whether it is coming from your site or not, whether if there is somebody actually trying to load something which is not supposed to be loaded, things like that. You can judge it, and accordingly, you can improve your policy. And once you improve your policy, you can apply the policy again and keep on monitoring. And yeah, and that's all to the report mode. But there should also be an endpoint uh, where should be the when should you stop. So basically, this monitor violation is the part where you need to make sure that you are aiming to bring the genuine violations down. So with time, you should also think that, okay, the violations should come down and down, and you should have a trustworthy enough policy now. Okay, so this is just the reporting mode. You are not actually blocking anything, but eventually you do have to come to the second stage with the second mode here. That's the block mode. In the block mode, you are going to this is going to be the syntax. Uh, it's similar to content security policy report mode. It's similar to that, but just that the syntax is a little different, and it's going to actually block now. And here also you can mention the report URI the same way. It was happening in the report mode only. In the block mode, if you provide the report URI through the CSP headers, you can also report the violations and consume it the way you want. And through the block mode, uh, you can apply the block mode through server-side headers and also HTML meta tags. But as I had mentioned earlier, you cannot have reporting through HTML meta tags. You can just have block mode through HTML meta tags. And this analogy is something like you are monitoring the speed of the vehicle, but the moment it is reported, now the policy takes comes into action, and it sends the security guard, traffic police basically, to stop your vehicle from crossing or give you a fine or tell you to slow down or things like that. So uh, this is how the block mode will work. And once you're confident enough with your report mode policy, you can apply it with the block mode. And also, so this was what we were doing in the report mode earlier. And uh, the just in addition to this, now in the block mode, after you are done monitoring and creating a good security policy, you can apply the block mode policy. And again, you can do the same thing which you were doing before. You can again judge the violations and update the policy again, and keep on updating it. So you can so you are on the safer side basically after this block mode policy happens, because this is where it actually starts blocking untrusted resources. So all this said, it's not that simple. So the simplest parts which you are going to do once you have your content security policy up is that you're going to see that you'll be trusting a certain URL to serve your images from. You'll have a Amazon some S3 web server which you'll know the domain of, and you're going to mention that for the image domains. And there'll be a certain place where you'll have external scripts CDN on CDN network or anywhere else, right? You can have it hosted anywhere, but you need to mention it in your security policy, and for even for the script, this styling tags as well, styling scripts as well. And even the iframe part would be easy because you know these things are for certain, that you don't need to calculate anything. You just need to see that, okay, these are the things we trust. We need to put it in a policy and you're done. But the toughest part of the whole implementation would be the XSS, cross-site scripting, and you will have to mitigate inline script tags, because you don't want any of the notorious script tags which you don't want to run on your site. But at the same time, you cannot ignore the fact that there are certain inline script tags demanded by analytics and marketing tags, which recommend that you need to have inline script tags on your website. Even Google Tag Manager is a good example that they do demand for a inline script tag, and you cannot load it from an external resource. But you need to make sure that the script tags which you are including, they are trusted. So what do you do? So browser in the background, it does a lot of things. So now uh, there are two ways to allow the inline script tags. You can basically calculate the uh, SHA encryption of your script tag and attach it to the CSP header. And you can consider that while your website is being built, uh, and uh, and once you have deployed it, you can at the build time you can calculate this SHA and add it to the server side. And in the CSP header, you are going to get this SHA along with the inline script tags. And that's how, when it comes back to the browser is going to see that this is the SHA which I am supposed to trust for the inline script tags, and it sees any of the script tags, it's going to calculate the SHA, and if it matches, it is going to run that inline script. So a flowchart kind of demonstration here. Let's say you have an inline script tag like document.add event listener, and on load you do something on the page load. And so first you take this, you extract out the script, you get rid of the script part, you calculate a SHA 256 of the same, you get the SHA, you add it to your CSP headers, and you have the same, and you append it to a content security policy, and that's how you go about it. And browser is going to take care of it. Or if you don't want to calculate the SHA, if it is getting too tough for you to take care of, okay, these are so many things, so many inline tags, inline scripts I need to take care of, that's getting heavy for you. So you need to attach a randomized unique string known as nonce, and it will be added to all of the script tags as an attribute, as well as it needs to be added as a attribute to your inline scripts, as well as it will be added to the content security policy. But the demand is that on each reload of a website by any of the user, there needs to be a unique nonce, and that's a challenge because that will need a heavy server client communication based on your architecture. So yeah, as I said before, if it's a small site, you can add it in your HTML meta tags. There is no server backend communication needed, and it does not support reporting. And if you don't care about it, it's fine. Uh, you can add it like in your HTML, plain HTML. You can just go ahead and add this. It's going to take care of the security of your website. So it also depends on the front end architecture which you are following to deploy your websites. And accordingly, you should take a call on the implementation. And we will have different ways how our website goes online. It could be a proper backend. It could be server-side rendering. It could be global edge server, middleware, Lambda edge, or even a purely static HTML. So based on this, you should take a call. And it all in all, it should be a continuous process. It cannot be just a one-off thing. So I agree. Initially, you're going to have a lot of effort here, but gradually the effort keeps on decreasing. You just keep on updating the policy, and your website will continue to be secure. So some good links to follow would be this Alefenu. So it's kind of a genius website where it gives you challenges to make the website. You're challenged to introduce any cross-site scripting attack to the website, and you will see if it passes or not, and eventually step by step you're going to reach certain level. And other popular sites are you can just go to the network tabs of Twitter or yeah.
Yes.
So where was I? So yeah, I'm on Twitter. So while the time the screen was blank, I just opened up Twitter and I went to the docs in my network tab. So the first doc which is loaded is the home page, and here you can see the content security policy. And this is in block mode. It's not in report mode, and it has a connect SRC, which websites to connect it to, and what images to pick this from. And they also have a nonce here, which is a randomized unique string, and it's supposed to change on every reload. And they also have a report URI at the end. This is where they are going to collect all the violations of the content security through the content security policy. So internally, Twitter will be able to see what all things are going to be blocked. So yeah, you can visit various websites. They are going to have this tag here. A lot for listening. And if you want to know more about me or connect with me, this is my online hosted portfolio, and you can check all my links there.